Hey everyone, welcome to a brilliant first session, w- wherein we're trying to imagine how people that have not been able to, participate in multiple conferences around the globe. I mean, none of the three of us are the ones that tend to stick to one location, but we do realize that a lot of people are either sticking to one geography, in a broader region or a continent-wise or are not so frequent or maybe just missed this ETH Dubai conference, right? So as a broader part of the initiative, we tried to focus on what happened at ETH Dubai throughout. There was so much of excitement, and some of the excitement was caused by the two gentlemen that I have here. Two of my friends. I wish I'd spent more time with them, but I think life gives us so many opportunities. So I'll quickly welcome Ali and Sameep and allow them to introduce themselves. They've both been working on interesting projects. So, over to Sameep first and then Ali.
Hey Akshay, nice to be with you once again. It's always good to meet you, like even if it's physically or it's virtually, like it's always
Mhm.
good. I'm Sameep Singhania, one of the core contributors at QuickSwap. I basically lead the development side over there, plus some sort of the BD as well. QuickSwap, I'm not sure how many of you know about it, but it's one of the largest DEXs on Polygon. I would say the biggest DEX on Polygon right now. We have launched on ZK as well. We are on Chain as well. And so we are not only a swap platform anymore. I'll discuss more about this during this conference. But yeah, that's what I do, and that's what QuickSwap does right now.
Nice. So, Sameep, for you, we're going to be learning also about, what is next for QuickSwap and its ecosystem. So, I'm
Definitely.
excited about that. Ali, why don't you tell us about yourself and Magpie?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Akshay, for inviting me. You should visit for a longer time next time around, so we can hang out a bit more. And thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm Ali. I'm the founder and CEO of Magpie. You probably must have heard of QuickSwap, but Magpie, I'm pretty sure you might not have heard of. We're still early stage. And so what we do is we enable cross-chain swaps. The core objective for us is to simplify movement of assets from one chain to the other because there's a lot of different L2s and L1s and you want developers and end consumers to be able to navigate the space seamlessly and easily. So that's what we do at Magpie.
Hey, thanks. I think that was a good brief. I think the elevator pitch is still fresh, Ali. So I feel we're going to extract some VC nuggets, how to get them to agree to invest in your startup from you. But I think for me, one thing that I would like to start from is there's a lot of knowledge to be found if you're on ground in an atmosphere. And ETH Dubai, like any other ETH conference, was jam packed with insights. There was a lot of investors, surprisingly more investors, less builders. But I feel the builders that were there were very high quality. So just from the site of the showcase builders or the star entrepreneurs, what did you come across as trends that are possibly growing or dying while you were at ETH Dubai?
So for me, what I observed, and I think again with QuickSwap, I saw, and then there was DopeX right next to us as well. So perpetual protocols as derivatives is something that have been of interest. Like you look at GMX as one of the perpetual derivatives protocols, and you see others venturing into that. I think that is a consequence of a semi-downfall that we've seen with centralized exchanges. So we saw, I think, a lot of DeFi native people trying to build and focus on trustless solutions that ultimately don't have any single point of failure. So that is one. There's certainly a lot happening on the ETH scaling side of things. So a lot of L2s, app chains. So I feel like this is even going into the conference. I felt like there's a lot of excitement with L2s, with ZK rollups, ZK VMs, and that's sort of what was verified from my perspective that there are still a lot of builders, people who are established, who are stepping in now into the space, and they're actively working towards better user experience as far as DeFi is concerned. So those were some key takeaways for me from the conference.
Interesting, Ari. I think it is important to also, just remember that some of these guys do not understand DeFi space as much, right? They would definitely have come across QuickSwap already, but they know it for the plain vanilla use case that it championed and gave that frictionless experience. So important to understand that some of these terms we can unpack for them, right? But I noted them down, so I'll probably dive in more into the ZK, the rollups, and the ZK EVM as a broader direction. But before going into that, Sameep, would love to hear your thoughts. You're one of the veterans, I would say. So I think how much you got to learn.
Okay, so I'll start. I think this year ETH Dubai was really good, man. Like last year, it wasn't that great. Like there was a lot of noise, and it was bull market as well. So a lot of bullshit was there along with the bull. So yeah, this time it was good. So I mean, like quite a few good projects were there, and people were actually talking some sense this year, right? They were not talking about token prices. They were not talking about the market trends and all that stuff. They were actually talking about products, may it be NFTs, may it be perpetuals market, derivatives industry, DEX industry, even the auditing industry. These guys are doing some good job. Like I always thought auditors are one overrated people in this industry. They charge, shit ton of money to do nothing, virtually nothing, right? But now, like they are doing a lot of stuff, right? They are moving into functional testing, they are moving into formal testing, fuzzy testing, all that sort of stuff. So now we are seeing that, right? And I basically met a lot of people who are actually into this space, right? People only see that, DeFi is being built, NFT space is being built, derivative space is being built. But what's more important is the infrastructure layer, the security layer, and this time around in Dubai, I saw that layer building as well, which was like next level thing for me, right? So I was very much excited to see all that stuff because nothing was actually really happening around. But now, like all the products out there, builders out there, they're very much worried about who are their auditors, how much are they costing, apart from manual audits, what else they are providing, right? So that industry was not maturing enough, right? And it wasn't a good sign for the industry because you see a lot of hacks happening around, security hacks. That was just lack of all these tools out there. Like if all these tools are available, I think we can basically prevent 90% of those, right? Which is more than $1 billion, right? So work happening in that aspect, I'm pretty happy about that. Apart from that, a lot of people were talking about DeFi, not just swaps or like DEXs, because for me, DEXs are not DEXs. These are not decentralized exchanges. These are decentralized swap exchanges right now. They are like not DEX, they are DESX, right? DEX would be something where you'll have everything, not just cash market, not just token market. You have derivative products, you have options product, you have spread products, you have futures market, like perpetuals market, or like anything, any structured products, right? Then it will be a true DEX, right? Right now, there is no true DEX, and that's the goal of QuickSwap, to become a true DEX, right? So we are working towards achieving that particular goal right now. But this year, ETH Dubai was good. Another thing, I think we should not call DeFi, right? I've been saying this to everyone. It's not DeFi. We should start calling it global finance because that's what it truly is. And it's easy to understand for the layman, for the non-native crypto user, what global finance is than what decentralized finance is, right? So decentralized finance is a technical term, right? You call mango a mango not by its scientific name. I don't know, whatever it is, right? You call it a mango because it's easy to understand, it tastes good. But if you say it magniferous or whatever it is, it tastes bad now because you're not able to understand the name. You're not able to call it. So we should call DeFi GFi, global finance. And now it's easy to understand what it is.
Nice. So I think that's one narrative being pushed from Sameep essentially. Yeah. But I think you can sense the veteran in him when he says that it is he has strong thoughts about how the space should evolve, and I think how the space essentially is going to look like is also how QuickSwap seems to be evolving. At least the early sneak peeks that I'm having while following his session on in Dubai, or following him in Bangalore speaking at some conference. I'm learning a lot's going on under the hood. But it's very exciting to firstly point out one thing that I realized, and this is across verticals, right? So Web3 has come off as a space that's more global or planetary, as we could say, right? And Sameep, I think in one of our conversations, you even mentioned it as planetary finance, right? I think if you draw a line from there, I think every offering that's coming up in the blockchain space or the crypto space, I would say rather, is more global in its habits, more global in its service delivery, right? So you'll see the same patterns across, no matter where the delivery is getting extended, because we're all digital natives. And that's essentially, and a theme that I think I could sense a growing relevance for. On the other hand, I also saw a dying breed. Apparently, I saw a lot of people, at least the ones that were adding to the noise, going away from just the aspect of you know inter ecosystem bridges, right? So I think people were trying to go take a lot of jabs, but now only the serious folks are sticking around to build things around it. I think, Ali, I would love to get your thoughts on what you noticed around it, and also how you're looking at cross ecosystem exchanges from an asset perspective at Magpie.
Mhm. So yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of work that has been done with bridges. There's a lot of bridges that exist right now. Some better than others. There were different models that were being used. So the earlier bridges had a wrapped model where you would have a wrapped asset. So if you have Ethereum on one chain, you would have a version of wrapped Ethereum, like wormhole wrapped Ethereum as an example. Now this created a lot of friction in usability of assets. And so what we've seen is solutions and bridges that have adopted a more native approach that makes it easier for different developers and businesses to incorporate as part of the solution, have sort of come out as leaders. The other thing that I've seen in the bridge space, which is also practically being applied by Web3 projects, is the use of cross-chain messaging. So previously, cross-chain messaging was not a big thing, or was not actively being utilized by protocols, but now it is. And so what I perceive is happening with that is you have significantly better usability for the end consumer, because it can often get very overwhelming as to which bridge do you use, which assets do you bridge from, and how do you get it there, and then you have to be able to use it there. And so with cross-chain messaging being operational, even us at Magpie, our objective has been to aggregate liquidity, which has increasingly gone fragmented because of a lot of chains, a lot of different DEXs or AMM pools. They exist in a fragmented space. And so aggregation protocols that aggregate this liquidity on the same chain and across multiple chains is something that we think is a valuable use case as an infrastructure solution that supports that interoperability. And so, yeah, that's what I think I've seen with the competition in the bridge space. Obviously, it's not an easy space to be in. There's a lot of risks associated with it. We've seen several bridge hacks happen in the past as well, and I think we're moving towards a space where the better and the best bridges with the optimal security practices are continuing to prove themselves, and will establish themselves as the key touch points when you're trying to move from one chain to the other.
Interesting. So you're saying that you will now start seeing winners evolve. There might already be some that have matured, the hard way sometimes, but I think some that have matured already or are maturing to become winners. Samir, I would love to get your thoughts, because you seem to have like a global perspective, but also you have a depth in one ecosystem more than any other, right? So what are your thoughts around, interoperability and bridges, the relevance of it, or the attempts that you saw are being made for young entrepreneurs at ETH Dubai?
I was actually looking at Magpie right now when you were talking, Ali, and it looks really fascinating, man. We should talk after this conversation, right? So it looks really good, because like I've been very much into this cross-chain interoperability stuff, and like have reviewed a lot of protocols, like I think like 5 or 6 different protocols out there. And I think I've met few people in the Dubai as well. There was one guy, I don't remember the name, not from the Magpie. I know someone else was there as well. We met too, yeah, but I'm not talking about you. There was someone else as well, right? So yeah, I met that guy as well, and he was doing some interesting stuff as well. But like how I see interoperability happening is, I don't know like how Magpie does it, but like the way I see it in the future is the core blockchain layer has to support that, has to provide support, right? Until and unless that happens, in a nutshell, like everything is a bridge, right? It's just like you basically say it in a different way, right? Because if core blockchain level layer doesn't support cross-chain messaging, then you need some sort of bridge or some sort of off-chain mechanism to basically enable that, right? But my vision of future true blockchain interoperability is when base layer supports that, like Cosmos ecosystem, where you have inter-blockchain communication layer, right? So the way I see it is like, I don't know how much of you know that, but in traditional industry or in traditional technology, you have JSON APIs, right? So you have a standard using which any protocol can expose their APIs, and if they are like properly following that standard, any other protocol can easily integrate with that particular protocol, right? I can integrate with Facebook using Facebook APIs. I can integrate with Gmail. I can integrate with Twitter or any like XYZ protocol or product or project out there, just because they all follow the same standard and their base layer or their core services supports that, right? Which is not true in case of blockchain right now. So, I mean, like Cosmos has tried to do that, and Cosmos is a really good technology just because they are doing IPC, right? So, and I think that's the goal of whole supernets thing, subnets thing, even with, I think with ETH 2.0, with true ETH 2.0, we will see that, right? But that's how I see, like in the long run, how this can happen when you'll get a lot of traction on true interoperable communication, when my smart contract or like Polygon POS smart contract can easily interact with a smart contract on Ethereum, a smart contract on Binance or any other chain. That's when we will see a true interoperability coming. I mean, it's just because we do not have any interoperable solutions right now, good interoperable solutions, there is a huge liquidity fragmentation, right? That's why DeFi space or GFi space or DEXs are not being used as much as SEXs, because on SEXs you have a concentrated liquidity. The liquidity is not distributed across, let's say, 16 blockchains, and then every blockchain has 16 other DEXs out there, right? So if you are on a Polygon POS, even if you use aggregators like Paraswap, you are only tapping into the liquidity of that ecosystem, which is Polygon POS. You're not able to tap into the liquidity of Ethereum, which is another $50 billion, right? Or whatever that number is, right? So that's the biggest downside to DeFi right now, that inter-blockchain communication is truly not possible, which is basically a biggest hindrance in the overall adoption, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, would love to also hear from both of you around the, why is it that, bridges or, anything to do with, you know, kind of this interchange of assets from one ecosystem to another is prone to hacks. Like I think pretty much the last 18 months have been a lot of news around some of these hacks happening in one ecosystem or the other, right? So what is the origin of these hacks, and, how are you guys navigating that, or how do you look at that particular vulnerability?
So, like in my opinion, there are multiple hack points or multiple failure points when you talk about bridges. The first failure point is the bridge contract itself. Right? You never know how safe is that bridge contract in itself. Right? Any bug can be found anytime, and then it's done. The second failure point is okay. So most of the bridges follow some sort of messaging protocol, right? I mean, like 99% of the bridges do that right now. So who is passing on those messages, right? How many validators are required to pass on that message? Who validates those messages? Like all those infrastructure, like is the second, I would say, the failure point. And like most of the hacks happen through that, right? Either it's a private key who had that power to validate the message or send some transaction to the bridge, some message to the bridge, or it was a bug in the bridge smart contract. Like most of the hacks, or like would say 99% of the hacks happen just because of that. And these failure points will always be there. Like no matter what bridge is, how battle tested that particular bridge is, like one or the other way you will be able to find it. Like I think a year back or 18 months back, there was a severe bug found even in the Matic bridge where anyone can. It was a white hat hacker, right? Not a black hat, but black hat could have destroyed Matic, right? So I mean, like you will always be able to find those bugs in the bridges, right? I mean, like at QuickSwap, whenever we have to use any bridged assets, because on Polygon everything is bridged, right? So we generally try to use native bridges, because native Polygon bridge, I think, is the most secure bridge right now, or most secure messaging protocol right now in the world. First, it's validated by 100 validators out there. Not anybody can send message to that particular, some faulty message to that particular bridge. Second, their bridge has been, I would say, battle tested a lot, because a white hat hacker basically found a serious bug in there. It has been fixed. It has been like audited. It has already managed like 20 or $25 billion worth of inter-blockchain volume or so. But it's still, a bridge is a bridge, right? But yeah, like that's the assessment point for us, like from the QuickSwap, whenever we have to assess which particular assets we are going to use, which bridge like we will use for that. support at QuickSwap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of resonate with what Sameep says. I think when builders are designing bridges, they essentially have to make certain trade-offs between either you have optimal security, and then you can have the better cost or better usability. And so different bridges have taken different assumptions and taken different priorities, which results in those kind of outcomes. So if you have better usability, lower cost, you may be compromising security. You have a set of 11 validators that are essentially validating the transactions that are happening, but then that becomes a point of failure. And so the kind of hacks that we've seen, largely smart contract oriented, we saw with Wormhole, was I think a $300 million hack or something of that magnitude, which was a consequence of, because you're dealing with smart contracts not just on one chain, but two different chains. And so there's Solana and then there's ETH. And so these hackers as well are pretty smart people, and they're trying to experiment where I can extract value and what I can fool the system because of the way that it works. And then we see even highly secure solutions like, which was Nomad was a bridge, and I'm not sure if still functional. Amazing team, the technology behind it, pretty solid as well. However, the point of failure at this point was not the security assumptions that they had, but the way they deploy their operational security. How do they deploy any upgrade to the contracts? Is upgradability a thing in the contracts that exist? And so yeah, it's I do think that battle tested solutions with the proper trust assumptions that are appropriately displayed to the users will certainly contribute and be more usable over time. And I think with what we're trying to do with Magpie and other peers like Li-Fi and Socket, who do bridge aggregation, effectively allow users to make those choices for themselves. By users, I mean businesses as well, where you can be like, I want to go entirely for security, and I can choose from Connext or Seller, the bridges that have been battle tested across protocol that work in a way that is less likely to be exploited in any sort of way. So I do think these bridges and these ecosystems will continue to exist, and just because of how the different network effects of different protocols and different chains operate. And so aggregation or bridge aggregation solutions are likely to be, at least in the midterm, until we see significant foundational changes to the core blockchains, where you have IBC functionalities, as Sami pointed out earlier. Unless that happens, even if that can even happen, I think a solution is to have liquidity aggregation in a cross-chain setting, and bridge aggregation to allow for the settlement of cross-chain trades.
Thanks, Ali, for taking us through the details of how it's happening in Magpie as well. I feel when I was speaking to you, I think about a year back, there was a lot of novel, I would say, efficiencies that you guys designed yourself. In fact, even at ETH Dubai, when we were communicating, I think I learned of a couple of new things that your CTO had devised. So I think that was interesting to find. Interesting point that you brought about users, and I think as Sameep likes to say, these are all businesses, and let's stop calling them projects and businesses. And for every business, I think what's important is to have that focus onto the user, right? So I think for the layman here, one, I would like to sort of get you guys to paint a picture of what does that layman user look like, and how do they evolve once they start dabbling with various DeFi offerings. One, and then two, how many of these users did you come across when you were at the ETH Dubai conference? Was it a good exercise to showcase yourself at the conference from a business development perspective, or a user onboarding perspective is actually where I'm hinting at. So would love to get both of your thoughts. I think Sameep can start first.
Yeah, okay. So I think from the user's perspective, from the layman user's perspective, like not just DeFi, I think entire blockchain industry is pretty live right now, right? So I have no problem accepting that there is certain learning curve, that if you want to use any application in DeFi right now, and that learning curve is important as well. Like I would not want any user to not go through that learning curve, because it can basically result in a loss of money for you, right? If you do not truly understand how to manage your wallets, how to manage your private keys right now, like I'm not saying it's a good UX, but right now it is what it is, right? So you need to understand how it works. So for any layman user right now, there is certain learning curve, and you should definitely go through it. You should not basically listen to everyone else out there that there is no learning curve. You just set up your MetaMask wallet, just set up your XYZ wallet, and you are done. No, you should understand how to there is a 24-word seed phrase. You can't ignore that, right? You have to save it, because your MetaMask or your any other wallet can crash anytime. Even if it's a hardware wallet, it can crash, right? So you need to protect it. You need to understand how to protect it. So I think there is a big learning curve right now, and there's a big fear as well in a layman, which makes sense as well, because if I have to save my 24 keyword seed phrase with my life, if I lose it, if it gets hacked, if it gets into the hand of someone else, my life saving is basically done, right? So I'm not going to put $100,000 in like such technology where I have to do that, right? So I think that's the situation we are at right now in the blockchain space, in the DeFi space. That's why we are not seeing adoption at the level we should have seen by now. I think the biggest problem right now is the wallet technology, right? No true non-custodial wallet is out there where a user, or even I am 100% assured that if I use this wallet, there is some prudent recovery mechanism where if I lose my private keys, if I lose access to 24-word seed phrase, basically I don't want to manage 24-word seed phrase. I even don't want to understand what this is, right? When you go to Gmail, like Gmail doesn't bring you all the technicalities that how it saves the passwords, how the seed is generated, how it's encrypted, and now you have to save it all, right? That doesn't happen. If that starts happening, like I am sure within a week's time, Gmail will lose all of its users, right? If they start. So that's the like phase where we are in the blockchain right now. It has like improved over the last 6 months, last 12 months, but it's still true, man. Like it is what it is. I think in next 6 to 12 months, we'll see a lot new wallets coming up, which will solve this problem, which will have a better recovery mechanisms. I'm not sure what those mechanisms are going to be. Some say it's social recovery, Google recovery. Then people basically have some counter arguments as well. Like if you do social recovery, if you do like decentralized, it's not decentralized anymore if you do social recovery, if you do some sort of Gmail based recovery or other mechanism. So I'm not sure what that particular mechanism is going to be, but there needs to be some mechanism, right? Where this recovery mechanism easy, the wallet is easy to use, it's still non-custodial. I don't want it to be a custodial wallet, it should be non-custodial, but I should have some recovery mechanism. Now coming back to ETH Dubai, I think ETH Dubai was good this year, as I said, and a lot of users at ETH Dubai already knew about QuickSwap, right? I'm glad to say that. And yeah, but it was still good for us because, QuickSwap, as you all know, like it's been known for its swap platform. It's like decentralized swap exchange or decentralized exchange, as everyone calls it, right? But that's not all QuickSwap is about, right? QuickSwap has multiple more products into under its umbrella. One of them is like gaming ecosystem, which we call Gaming Hub, right? And then we have active liquidity managers, right? Then we have farms running. Then we have a new exchange coming up, which is a perpetuals exchange. I would like to call it GMX on Polygon, right? To make it easy for everyone to understand, because that's what it is, right? We are going to launch it very soon. I think maybe next week or next to next week, we'll be launching it. Still under audit. Audit has been done. We are doing some fixes, and then the final report has to come. So I think we will launch it very soon. We are like, I'm personally very excited about it. The entire Polygon team, and like they are excited about it. They basically DM me every other day that when we are going to do this. So the ultimate goal of QuickSwap is to achieve this, like to achieve the broader umbrella of what an exchange should actually look like, right? It should be a cash market. Like in a traditional exchange, you see a cash market, you see an options market, you see a futures market, and you see other derivatives and structured products out there. But in decentralized world, we are missing that. Like everything is there, but in silos, right? There is GMX, there is Uniswap, QuickSwap, then there is Dopex, then there is Opine, then there is Ribbon Finance, and then there is DPEX Finance, and then XYZ Finance, ABC Finance, and like 123 Finance. Like all different products are out there, but user doesn't have one single place to go where they can basically choose which product they want to use and they use it, right? That's how Binance survives. That's how NASDAQ survives. That's how BSC survives, NSC survives, because they provide all products under one umbrella, right? So users don't have to go to multiple places, create logins over there. And this becomes more important in DeFi, because when you go to a one single protocol, you basically trust that protocol. But if you go to multiple protocols, if let's say I want to use a perpetual exchange, if I have to go to GMX, now I have to trust the GMX security model as well. I have to trust GMX team as well. I have to put my trust in another set of smart contracts developed by teams. Like in most cases, like they are anonymous teams, right? So people really don't like that, right? I mean, like decentralized narrative is good, but anonymous narrative, I personally don't get it. Like why it's there and why it has become a second name of decentralization. Like I'm anonymous because I'm decentralized. That doesn't make sense, right? To me personally, that doesn't make sense. Like to me, anonymity means like why you don't want to disclose yourselves. Like, you want to do something wrong, or you want to do some scam, or run away with the money, because that's not what decentralization is. Decentralization is not anonymity, right? It's wrong thing. So I think, when that happens, when you're able to provide all products under one suite, now user is more comfortable using it. They don't have to switch to multiple apps, multiple websites, and expose themselves to all the risks. So that's important. That's what's missing in DeFi right now, right? Everything is there in DeFi, but no single place to basically use everything out there, right? So once we'll have that, I think I'm like 100% sure other protocols are working on that as well, because everybody can see this missing gap, not only us, right? So they're working on this as well, and it's good. Like, I'm not like, even if like QuickSwap only does it, it's not good for the like ecosystem. Multiple protocols out there should build a complete suite of products, like the way QuickSwap is doing. I would assume Uniswap should do that as well. Balancer should do that as well. Sushi should do that as well, so that people have multiple places, right? And that should become a norm, right? It should not be just one QuickSwap thing. It has to become a norm for the entire industry, that you just don't have to build products in silos. You have to build a complete suite of products. So that's like our aim at QuickSwap, is to solve user. Like, when we started QuickSwap, the goal was to solve user experience, right? Because user experience was like bullshit, right? That's why we started QuickSwap, right? And now the next piece of bullshit user experience is this wallet experience and the silos experience, right? So that's like what we are doing right now to basically cater to those needs, to remove those bad user experience problems right now. I think we have lost Akshay.
Yeah, it seems so. And I think we're sort of running out of time. I'll just resonate a lot of what Sameer said around usability, recovery of assets, or having better solutions to manage your wallets. Also, the idea that even for me, I go to DMX, DYDX, DopeX, all fragmented across different chains, trying to lend on Aave, on ETH, on Polygon. So it's a bit of a hassle to be able to do that, even for power DeFi users. And I think even at Magpie, we sort of recognize this gap in the space, and that's why we're working towards this cross-chain interoperability infrastructure that incorporates something called account abstraction that eventually will allow you to have better usability, recovering assets, being able to manage DeFi in a way that is less overwhelming while still understanding the risks. And hopefully, we'll be able to follow suit, take inspiration from the likes of Sameep, Uniswap, and QuickSwap, and others, and come up with a solution that is actually useful for people, that allows them to navigate the cross-chain or multi-chain global finance or decentralized finance with ease. So I'll just pause there. I think we're running out of time, and I think we've lost Akshay. Manav, is there anything you'd like me to say before we wrap this up? All right.
Yeah, okay.